Hi, my name is Aoife Deane and this is the Happy Weight Podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about why it's so good to stop trying to lose weight. We could be trying to lose weight for 2 decades, easy. You know, it's easy to pick up a diet book, but attend a slimming class, whatever, and go in there feeling fat, internally you still feel the same thing about yourself and have the same thoughts, have the same feelings. And even a new client that came in yesterday, she was saying even the times on, with slimming clubs and stuff that she lost weight, she actually felt the same on the inside, and it nearly brought with it some anxiety to, reach her ideal weight. When we're following a diet, it's someone else's idea of eating that we're putting as a band-aid on top of us and our emotions and our real relationship with our food and our body's real needs. And, then how do you keep it? You know what I mean? So now when we're fixing ourselves properly, it's that we change on the inside. We think that some of the choices we make, some of how we feel about things is because of our current weight and our current eating. And if that current weight and current eating problem was out of the way, all those life choices and everything else would be different. But it's actually the other way around. It's because of how we look at things, because of the choices we make or how we feel about those choices is what creates our weight. So we want to turn it all around, right? I'm going to go through a typical day, right? Well, I don't know. There's no such thing as a typical day, maybe. And basically how you would go about every little micro part of the day as someone trying to lose weight versus someone who is being their ideal weight. Okay, so the first one is waking up in the morning. So I think we can have automated guilt, automated self-hatred, especially on Mondays. I always tell clients that beware of the automated Monday guilts, where we have developed a kind of almost nervous system pattern or brain pattern or something of you wake up in the morning and obviously you feel guilty about last night, or and people have this with nights out and drinking as well. It's like, obviously you should be embarrassed and ashamed of yourself. And we just settle for it. We're not challenging our thinking process. We're not changing patterns. Same on mornings, we can be like, and I ate all that last night, and we can just recap what we ate. So we're starting the day on a bad foot. So if we were to be like, okay, come on, Aoife, if you were your ideal weight now today, would that be the first thought you have in the morning? And it definitely wouldn't be, because as you can imagine, someone who already is their ideal weight is not going to be sweating the small stuff with food. So if they ate too much last night, cool, yeah, their belly's still recovering, it'll get over it, it'll get hungry again, there'll be a chance for more food later. But making it psychological is where we create a weight problem. So we don't need that bullying at all. So the next step after that is going to our wardrobe. So we could go to our wardrobe and we're like, yeah, sure, none of the clothes that I have in here make me feel good. Sure, I'm not the weight I should be. I should be 2 sizes smaller. And this is one of those chronic behaviors that builds over time that creates a chronic weight problem, because we've started really settling for sloppy standards. So actually us settling for a wardrobe that doesn't make us feel good is purely choice. Absolutely purely choice. We could have 5 outfits and every single one of those outfits we feel fantastic in, but having a wardrobe that makes you feel bad is absolutely a choice. And we have to take accountability for that now, because if we're overcoming comfort eating and emotional eating, we have to be very clear on ourselves that, okay, if I'm going to maintain conditions that create a little blip of discomfort, say every morning at, 7 a.m., there's a blip of discomfort because you open your wardrobe and you're like, ugh, I'm not there yet. And that outfit makes you feel like I'm not where I should be, I'm not where I should be, I'm not where I should be, I'm not where I should be. That is a real unnecessary obstacle. So if it was you and you were your ideal weight and you had just lost stones and stones and stones to get to the weight you are today, how do you think you'd look at your wardrobe? You'd be like, geez, I need to throw out that. And, you'd actually look at it through different eyes, because, we can blame a lot of stuff on our weight. Sorry, took a minor break there to get Jasper, my little nervous system regulator here. Jasper, he's come to join the podcast. But yes, so we can blame everything on our weight, and we have to dissect that now. We have to pick it apart, right? Because actually, if you couldn't blame your weight and you were looking at your wardrobe, you might be like, the sales assistant was a bit shitty that day, and the lighting in those changing rooms was awful, and I actually didn't ever fully love that top. I bought it because I was like, oh, sure, black top is handy or something. So we might be like, all of this stuff in my wardrobe feels bad because of my weight. And it's like, no, if you were your ideal weight, some of it would feel bad anyways. So we'd be jumping into, if I was my ideal weight now, how would I feel when I open my wardrobe? How would I feel when I put on my clothes? And that's a standard we can meet ASAP. And then the next one, right? We can go into work and say, for instance, it's a colleague's birthday, right? So there's going to be cakes and photographs, right? So with the cake, we might be like, oh no, another bad food. I had planned on being good today. Now that's out the window. And how would someone who is their ideal weight look at cake? Or maybe you have a colleague who's got a normal, cool relationship with food. You see her eat cake, you see her eat crisps sometimes, you see her eat nice things if you go out for a work dinner, or her or anyone else that you know who's got a normal relationship with food. What would they do if there was a cake that they really like in front of them? Would they A, have zero? Would they B, have some? Or would they C, have loads and call it a bad day and eat loads more? So this is where we have to step up to the plate now. And habits, habits are hard to break, obviously. And so what we want to do is we want to eat the cake, and we want to give out to ourselves while we're eating it, and we want to feel guilt and shame, and we want to exhibit a little bit of control by saying no, it's okay. I meant to do this because I am categorizing this Thursday as a bad day, and then tomorrow will be all a good day. So calling foods or days good or bad is giving us a sense of control. Whereas actually life and food and regulating a healthy weight is regulation. And regulation might be some cake, like a lovely slice of cake that tastes good and your belly feels nice afterwards. So there isn't a binary answer of none or loads. There's a comfortable answer where your taste buds were happy and your belly was happy. And this is what we have to change about disordered eating, right? Disordered eating is when our mind is controlling foods, judging foods, saying good, bad, all of that. And now we have to really be honest with ourselves and kind of almost talk back to that negative voice in our head and be like, I am committed to improving my physical body. I am improving my physical health. And therefore, in order to do that, the cues have to be there. I mean, my body has to feel comfortable. I cannot pretend making my body uncomfortable is my body's signal that it's moving closer to, a better health or a better weight or whatever. Yeah. And then with the photo, right, we could have automated like, oh, I'm going to look awful in this or whatever. But you know as well as I, there's people who look amazing in photos, and there's people who they're actually really good looking in real life. And then in photos, they're like, hunched over and all, I suppose, self-conscious or whatever. And like self-conscious is like the easiest way to look awful in a photo. So then it becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy that you're not holding yourself. You're not like holding yourself right. You're not like exuding self-esteem, confidence, and therefore the photo looks bad. Then you look at the photo, you reflect on that. And so we keep recreating the same past over and over again, or we keep recreating the same results over and over again. So if you were in that photo, if someone asked you to be in a photo and you were your ideal weight, you'd be like, yeah, sure, okay. And then maybe you'd exude positivity and confidence, and I'm exactly where I'm meant to be today. And exuding, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be today is a very different energy than the opposite, obviously. And then how would you react when someone shows the photo? Well, someone with a weight problem would be like, you see, another kind of twisting of the knife, how awful I look in that photo. And that could cause a spiral. After the cake and after the photo, that's enough to be like, I'm out. It's a bad day. Whatever happens from here on in happens. Our brain, or I call it the bully, the disordered eating, it wants us to clock out. And then us being present and a parent to our body is, I don't need to clock out. I can keep my emotions separate from how my body is feeling. But my belly feels lovely after the cake. I don't want to clock out and eat loads of random crap that I don't even remember eating. Like, it's so disrespectful to food as well. It's so ungrateful to be so lucky to have all this food, or to live in a developed country where we're rich enough to have food all around us, and then to just like inhale it and not even care and not even use it to feel good. It's like, we don't want to be that person anymore. So yes, now I suppose if we saw a bad photo of ourselves and we were already at our ideal weight, I think it would be a case of, yeah, you win some, you lose some. And I'm not like I'm not an influencer or celebrity for a job. Like, this is just a photo of colleagues or whatever that I look back on in 10 years time or 20 years time, and it will bring up a whole load of maybe nice memories or associations or whatever. But like, another kind of thing we have to know about what creates weight problems is being really weight centric, that it's called overvaluation of shape and weight, that someone's weight means everything. Like, slim people must be so happy every day. Their lives must be perfect. It must be amazing. And then because I'm at this weight, because my eating isn't good, of course, everything sucks. And then, of course, like thinking about weight and calories all the time. So we want to catch ourselves when we do that, and we want to expand our life, which brings me on to the next one, right? Then we might get a message in a WhatsApp group, maybe, I don't know, college friends, girls we went to school with, old friends, whatever. And someone wants to meet up. Someone wants a little city break, a little spa break, or a holiday in the sun or whatever. And our initial reaction could be like, oh, holy God, I'll have to wear a swimsuit, you know? And now it's like, okay, how would we react if we wore our ideal weight? Because see, there's also a lot of negative visualization when we're going through the day, you know, in a weight problem, basically, because it's kind of like that holiday could be 6 months' time. It could be a year's time. Pigs could fly. You know, alcoholics say one day at a time. And I think with eating and weight issues, it's like, let's just do 120 minutes at a time where I'm trying to listen to my body and not let my mind interfere. So in terms of 20 minutes, like 6 months' time is light years away. Like, anything could happen. We could be in a completely different place with our body and with our eating and everything. But we have this automated reaction of like, think of holiday, think of myself sad, covering myself up at the beach or whatever. So we have to break that automated visualization. And, you know, we have to be very nice to ourselves, retraining our brain, because we have to be like, Pettine, that's what you don't want. What do you want? Like, that's how I used to talk to myself. And I suppose the thing is that you get what you think about, want it or not. What you focus on expands, energy flows where your attention goes. And I also kind of just say, like, if you're really looking into the nuts and bolts of all the benefits that you can be on, or how to apply for them, or where you'll get them, like say if you were in Leaving Cert or something, it's like, who's doing the study to pass your Leaving Cert and get a job or something? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's in, we actually want to put our thoughts towards what we do want, not what we don't want. So, and now we actually have to be like, look, a lot of the stuff with my weight has actually been bad mental habits, like shitty mental habits. And so now it's kind of like, every time someone invites you to something, it's an opportunity to visualize it as you would like it to be. And that might not be like, you know, size 6 and in a thong bikini or something. Like, there could be a meet halfway where you're like, you're there with a cocktail and you're feeling really proud about yourself, and you're feeling really settled about yourself. You're feeling really happy about the progress and the moves forward you've made with your eating and your weight and your confidence. It feels so much nicer being nice to yourself now, supporting yourself, supporting your body. So again, 6 months' time could be so different. We could feel so amazing. And so that text is an opportunity to visualize that. Also with text for meals out, text for holidays, depending on how bad a place we're in, generally it's a very, very bad sign of like, you can't take the bait with this one. Your weight is definitely going to get worse if you are getting invites to stuff and you are not going because of your weight. Eating disorders are very, very isolating. And I think because maybe we've been dieting or just in the diet world, like looking at, I don't know, New Magazine or whatever, since we were 11, we think dieting and treating ourselves badly is totally normal, but it's not. And we equate like, sure, I'm a few stone overweight and sure I try and be good and I try and, then I fall off the wagon or whatever. Just because it's so common, people forget that like, this is an eating disorder though. Like this is an eating disorder, and eating disorders are very, very isolating. Like the aim of the game with an eating disorder is to make your life so small and to remove all your joys that you're either left alone in your room or in your sitting room eating processed foods, or if it's anorexia, we're left alone in a room starving ourselves. So it's kind of a similar outcome. And yet again, you're like, oh, sure, you're way over the top. It's not that big a deal. It's like this is how stuff snowballs. So if you get an invite to something, like I used to have a thing that like, what would fear make me do, or what historically have I done in this situation, and then do the opposite. So if you're in habit is to be like, oh, okay, they've asked me to a meal. How can I get out of this? What excuse will I use? Or what excuse will I use to get out of the holiday? You're like, okay, well then you have to go, because it's kind of like, if your weight is stuck or your weight is heavier than you were before, well then it's like all of your kind of life choices or how you've been dealing with life has been conducive to a weight that you don't want to be. Now your life and your life choices has to be conducive to a healthy weight. And part of that is being social and, having connections. Dopamine is one of the neurotransmitters we get from connecting with people and hugs and nice times with people. We don't want to have all our dopamine reliant on like fat and sugar and food. So, again, it's an opportunity to be like, okay, they've asked me to a restaurant. What would that look like this week if I was going out the door feeling really well in my clothes, and then I was at the restaurant and I was looking at the menu and I was like, ooh, what would I like? What would taste good? I know I'm going to be driving home after this and I want to be like, I feel so nice in my belly. And, when I'm lying in bed, I want to be like, oh, I feel so nice in my belly. Or I feel so lovely, or looking back on the lovely memories of the evening. So it's like, if that's the end point, working back on who you'd be at the restaurant. And we're in a weight problem and we do get to the restaurant, we're kind of like, oh, am I on a good day or am I on a bad day? Will I try and be good? Will I try and get the salad? Will I try and not eat the bread? Will I try whatever? And it's like, we really have to catch ourselves when we're doing that, because it's like, you're practicing Japanese in order to be fluent in French. Like that is all batshit. Like that is a crazy way to be eating. And there's no happy ever after with that. Like practicing that at restaurants is not going to one day get you to having a really cool relationship with food, where you're eventually one of those people that like, I can eat whatever I want and I don't gain weight. You can't get there from there. They're two very, very different vibes. Also, that's really like when we're being in our head, because when I'm like working with clients, I always use the example of like, if you were in a coffee shop or you were in Costa or something and your buddy was like, hey, do you want to use the loo before me? You do a split second check with your bladder. Like, is that walk over to the bathroom and go to the loo and everything worth it? Like, would I feel more comfortable after going to the loo than I would right now? And if you don't need to go to the loo, no, you wouldn't feel more comfortable doing that walk or whatever. But, then if she was like, oh, I'm going to get like, I don't know, a latte and a scone or something, and she asked you that, you might be like, oh, I said I was going to go off carbs. Oh, I didn't want to have any sugar today or whatever. Am I on a good day or a bad day? But actually, we need to make our decision just like we'd make the toilet decision, that it's like, okay, obviously my intention is to make comfortable insides, make my insides comfortable. So what like mega mix or what unique prescription from this coffee shop can I get so that my belly feels really nice, like during this interaction and when I'm leaving this interaction, So it's a very, very different way of thinking about it than asking our mind, which only has two settings, all or nothing, and neither lead to a nice time with food. The next one I have is an annoying boss or a sibling like texts you or rings you and annoys you, or your mom or your partner, or like someone does something annoying. And, a lot of eating and weight issues as well are our inability to regulate our emotions. And, this is why, like, it's not all our fault, obviously. There's lots of childhood stuff and whatever else. But I just kind of feel like that was key to me getting out of binge eating and eating and weight issues is protecting myself, like protecting my peace, like deciding on peace and staying there no matter what, deciding on happiness and staying there no matter what. And like, if we want something enough, we'll protect it. And when we don't think it's that important, like I said, it's like, oh yeah, I'd like to be happy or whatever. But then, I don't know, someone cuts us off in traffic and we're like, oh my God, or, we can allow ourselves like flamboyant, over the top reactions, or, negative thoughts or negative framing of the person or the situation. And I'm like, I just don't think we get to do that anymore. If we want to sort out our eating, you don't get to, like embellish negativity kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So I remember I had an annoying boss basically. And so my go-to would be, go home, overeat, whatever, maybe binge at weekends, just, outside of work basically. And then I was like, I am not going to give her the soot of it. Like, I'm not going to be a size or two bigger than I actually want to be because of her. Like, I'm not giving her that. I'm not giving her, like, I'm not giving away my healthy weight to her, if that makes sense. So we have to again, it's our option of like, let's suppress this emotion and go to the canteen and eat loads. And like, I had a client there the other day, and she's put down an awful decade, to be honest. She was looking after her dying parents. She was looking after her husband's dying parents. She had young kids. She had a job. She had a husband. She had a home. She had a lot going on. And like, she didn't, like, during all that time, she really, really lost herself, like anyone would, so she didn't keep up social connections with her friends. She wasn't really like her own person with her own passions and interests and watering those flowers, of her other interests and talents and all the rest of it. So everything just whittled down to her comfort being eating. And we were on the phone together the other day, and she's like, I'm definitely an emotional eater. And I was like, well, really, if you think back on it, it's like you're an emotional neglector. You had a lot of emotions over those years and they all got stuffed down. So it's like the emotions didn't get a look in and your body didn't get a look in. So that's really not fair on you. So now we deserve more. So now if a sibling or a boss or someone did piss us off, we have a right to be like, oh, pet, that was tough. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're hormonal. Maybe it's not about you, but you're okay. You're doing a great job. And like, it's funny, right? Because I think we are very logical with other people, but not with ourselves. And I think we have to catch ourselves all the time, right? Because if we're filled with, say, doubt and fear about our eating and weight, what's the logical response to doubt and fear? It's reassurance and love. And whereas we can feel some doubt about our eating and weight, and we're like, yeah, because yesterday wasn't great either, and I think those trousers were pretty tight, and I think it's maybe like that other time where I'm not moving forward at all. And it's like, wait a second now, were you feeling doubt and then you doubled down on the doubt? Is that what's happening here? So like, we have to kind of catch ourselves in those moments. And also like that, if someone hurt our feelings intentionally or non-intentionally, we have to be like, okay, what is the normal response to, or reaction if someone's feelings were hurt? How would you soothe your child or your friend or someone you loved? Like, we have to do the logical thing, really. We have to do the logical response. So then maybe another thing is, maybe you see someone who looks amazing and that triggers you. And, we can go into all sorts of things. Like, I suppose for me, I might have done, she's probably boring and disciplined and everything. It's like, whoa, wait a second now. What are you doing here? Because are you creating negative associations with becoming healthier? Because if you're doing that, you're really creating a block, because our subconscious mind is not going to let us sign up for more pain. So if you're associating someone who looks good or is a healthy weight with discipline, control, having no personality, being really boring, being over organized with shopping or cooking, and none of those really speak to you, well, you're creating a block. So like we can't do that, or we have to remind ourselves, of course, there are people who are a healthy weight that are not like really anal about things or really controlling. Like, of course, there's people who just happen to be like a healthy enough weight and it's in the background of their lives. And it's not hardship. It's not hardship to be a healthy weight. It's just their norm. So it's like, that's who we want to be. So let's not attach, a negative association to it anyways. And then I kind of think we can have like automated grief, because we can be like, oh, look at her in her lovely outfit. Geez, I'd wear something like that if I was my ideal weight. It's like, would you though? Would you though? Like, she's wearing, I don't know, white jeans. They're in Dunnes and you've money on your debit card. Do you want to just go down to Dunnes and get, if you were your ideal weight now, would you go down to Dunnes and would you buy that exact outfit? Because then if we were actually being our ideal weight today, we could be like, oh, I like what she's done there. And I love how, like, you can really tell she feels attractive or she feels comfortable. And it's like, that's probably what we're picking up on, to be honest. We're picking up on, like, she's exuding something nice. It's not really about the clothes. And then we could actually be grieving something we don't even want. And we could be like, I don't even like white jeans. Like, no matter what weight I'd be, I don't think I'd be wearing white jeans. And I've nothing to get against white jeans. But, it's kind of, again, catching ourselves in the automated grief. And same with food, I think, because we could be like, oh, she's eating those crisps. God, if I was my ideal weight, I'd, be eating all of those things or whatever. And, I just kind of think, again, it's like, would you though? Like, as in, if you could eat anything you wanted today and it wouldn't affect your weight, would you eat that exact thing? Do you love them? That is that your like most favorite ice cream, or is it your most favorite cake? So again, it's like we actually have to start putting ourselves in the position of, no, if I was actually my ideal weight, I don't think I would be jealous of that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something I don't like and it's really hard. I don't know. Would I be jealous of that flapjack? No, I wouldn't, because I'd rather an almond croissant or something like that, So it's like, catch yourself when you're grieving, if that makes sense, because it might be unnecessary. Then maybe another one, right, is it's a sunny afternoon and like another icky feeling that we have to get rid of. There's two of them really. The main one is, I'm a fat girl trying to get slim. So that like heavy weight and that dark cloud over our head every day of, I'm a fat girl trying to get slim. That has to go. Like, as in, for everyone I've ever worked with weight problems, we all have a photo in college or in our younger years or whatever, where we looked lovely and we remember we felt fat. So like, fat is a feeling, not a size, because there's loads of people who would have been that size and they did not feel fat. And there's loads of people who are your current size and they do not feel fat. So like, fat is a predictor. It's a feeling that we, I suppose, entertain and we allow. And it's a feeling of like not being good enough and not being where we're meant to be and not being worthy. And if we like cultivate and entertain that feeling, more weight is coming for us. So like I said, we've that feeling, and we can also feel like I'm at the bottom of Everest and I need to get all the way to the top, and it's such a long way, right? So if we're in at work and it's a sunny day and we have like 15 minutes spare actually now before the next call or whatever it might be, we might be like, geez, sure, a 10-minute walk is no good for me. Like, as in this weekend now, I'm going to be getting up, I'm going to be going to that body blitz fat attack class or whatever, and I'm going to do that 2-hour walk, or I'm going to actually be signing up to a 30-day challenge that starts next week. So I'll let this one go. And it's like, that is the reverse of being a healthy weight, right? Because a healthy weight or minding your body is, you take the cues, and it's like every little helps. And so this happened to me. I'm recording in West Cork because the last 2 days in Cork City were glorious sunshine, like the sun splitting the stones. And like both days I had a break where I could have recorded the podcast, but instead I had a walk by the river. And, again, before I would have been like, that's no good to you. You've so much calories to cancel out that you need to do a proper walk. But actually, like, us becoming a healthy weight is maintenance of our inner peace, and like always trying to create a nicer average feeling in our body. So I suppose, like, if I have a busy day, it can be all like go, 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 making sure I do the best job with every client, but equally I'm off the call or out of the meeting in time for the next one and the next one and the next one. So it can be all like go, 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 go. So even for my brain, my nervous system, I need to go from that like masculine energy of to like more feminine receiving energy. So like I just walked as slow as humanly possible along the river. I didn't listen to anything. I tried to listen to the leaves and the birds. And luckily there's loads of trees along the river there in Cork near my office. And, and across the way from the Mercy Hospital, there's a lovely section of trees there and stuff. So I did that. I got my hands on a little bit of peace, a little bit of nervous system regulation, and my muscles and bones got told that I love them and I care about them. And I wanted to give them this gift of 10 minutes of movement. And like I said, that is all in all the opposite of what I would have seen it like before. Before is like my disgusting, misbehaving body that won't play ball with my weight loss, and it feels gross and it looks gross. And this weekend I am gonna blitz it with exercise, So it's actually coming from hate. It's not coming from love or care. And I think all of your actions that come from hating your body, spoiler alert, they'll never work out in the long term, ever. So that's a different way of seeing it, I suppose. And then what else? I suppose then maybe in the evening time, right? I would have always been in work and I would have been like, don't you go home tonight now and overeat. Don't you eat too much sugar. Don't you binge like you did last week. So I didn't realize, this was before I was a hypnotist, I didn't realize that your brain doesn't hear nots, no's and don'ts. And I didn't realize, even though I'm a very visual person, that's why I'm always moving my hand, because I'm trying to explain the visions I see. But when I was doing that, right, I was saying, don't you go home tonight and overeat. I was imagining myself in my kitchen in Fulham overeating. I was like 50% remembering, 50% like imagining, I was remembering last night, but I was like transposing it onto this evening. So for a lot of us that our mind works in pictures, I didn't realize that I was dropping a pin. Like that was my Google destination. I was creating the image of me Wednesday night overeating, going to bed feeling gross again, waking up in the morning saying today's going to be a good day. And like there was no other template for my subconscious to work with. There was no, like, if you put in not Cork into the sat nav, it has to bring you to Cork. There's no other information. So instead, it's kind of like, today was taxing. I am feeling very like busy in my head. Like there's a lot of like noise and information and work and figuring out and all that. And my body is feeling maybe a little bit dehydrated, a little bit unmoved, a little bit hungry, a little bit overfull, whatever it might be. And now it's kind of like, if I was to treat myself this evening like the world's existence depended on me feeling well, what would that look like? And food, I think, would be 99.9% of the time part of how we feel comfort and how we reward ourselves. But again, our mind will want to do the all or nothing. And whereas we want to start as we mean to go on, we intend to be a slim person. So therefore, we will eat like someone who's got a great relationship with food. Creating a lovely dream picture of feeling really, really well might be like, we've a bit of this, we've a bit of this. And again, that totally goes against our controlling mind, which either wants to do like a diet nice night, like, I don't know, some bullshit cottage cheese and peanut butter crap or something like that, or like a binge. And now we want to be like, what would love look like? What would an evening where like I'm showing love to myself, like as in I'm using food to feel better, or I want to feel more relaxed, or I want to talk to a friend I haven't spoken to in ages, or I want an early night, or I want to read my book, or I want to light candles, or I want to listen to a podcast. Like as in, we have to work backwards from being in bed at 10 o'clock, feeling lovely, revived, rested, taken care of, all of those things. And what would that entail? So I think I've covered a lot of them. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for being here, and have a lovely week. Mwah.